Converted Man is here to save the day. Hi, everybody. Deconverted Man here. Okay, so what's going on in your world and universe? I've been looking at Twitter and SJ Thomason because she's like everywhere in my Twitter notifications. Like, it's not that I want to respond to her per se. Like, I do. I mean, but like, I don't want to keep having to respond to her because, like, I mean, there's other people to respond to and all that, but everybody that I follow is like retweeting and saying stuff about her, and so like I keep seeing her name. So I thought, well, I'll just do a thing where I talk about it live, and that will be a thing that I'm doing right now. So that's what I'm doing. So welcome. If you haven't checked out SJ Thompson's Twitter, her Twitter's in the description box of this that I'm doing, this thing that I'm doing, whatever this is. And I'm just gonna, show some of the thing. Okay, share entire screen. Is that what I want to do? I guess that's what I want to do. Let's do that. Oh my goodness, that was a mistake. Let's just present that to everyone and see what happens. Okay, I'm screen sharing. So here's her Twitter, tweet. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Twitter works. So, is the Holy Trinity found in the Old Testament? The answer is no. But thanks for asking. People are trying to ask her for debates or discussions. She started this whole thing about communist Stalin, and all this, communism and Karl Marx and communism begins where atheism begins and all this, and this started like a tweet war between her and frustrated atheist, and he wants to debate her, but like she won't like frame what the question of the debate is, so that's kind of a problem because we would have to have a coherent and agreed upon question to have a debate, but she hasn't done that yet. And it's not really clear what her stance is, but let's just say that this quote right here that I'm highlighting, with this day and I throw my gauntlet full in the face, blah 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 blah, and my giving, I will feel equal to the creator. And okay, so that's Karl Marx, and Karl Marx was a communist, and so I'm not sure, but as an atheist, I wouldn't say this little bit here. I wouldn't say creator. Like, why would I mention a creator? I don't believe in that. So, not to pull the no true Scotsman thing, but I'm just going to say that if you say that there's a creator, you're not an atheist. Unless the creator is not God. Like, is he talking about his parents? Like, anyway, so, so Stalin, of course, and I responded to her, anytime I see this sort of stuff with Stalin and Pol Pot and all that, I just respond with the death song from CARM HARM 4, and that was like who's it? Matt Slick on the CARM website. Like the first thing that it's not CARM HARM 4, it's CARM HARM 1, 2, whatever it is, whatever number it is. Anyway, so the point was Slick just presented a list of names that were all apparently atheists and how many people they had killed, as if that meant something. Like, okay, what are you supposed to do with that? So I just had Cite an Atheist make a song for me about it. So anyways, and of course we get the often done like this. I don't know how many times she's done this, 5 questions or 20 questions or a million questions that atheists cannot plausibly answer, possibly answer, can't answer, however you want to phrase it. I've asked many times, what would be the point in, I can make questions you can't answer. That's silly. So let's get rid of that whole meme of saying, here are questions that fill in the blank cannot answer, because I can construct a question that nobody can answer. Like how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? No one can answer that question because, one, we don't have angels as an example to tell us how, big or small they are. And, it's just, I mean, it's incoherent on every level, but it doesn't matter because you still can't answer the question. And so what does that mean? Does that mean, aha, I win? No, it doesn't mean anything. Even if you can't answer a question, that doesn't mean, like, what's a million times 757 and 5? I don't know. Do you, off the top of your head? And you're gonna have to put that in a calculator, and the calculator is gonna probably be like, I don't know either. Good luck. Look it up online, sucker, and maybe you'll find a way to figure it out or whatever. But I know the answer isn't 0. I don't have to know what the answer is to know what the answer isn't. It's nothing that's gonna. It's no number that's below the million, whatever the bleep it was I just said. That's my example. It's not gonna be smaller than that because I'm multiplying it. So it's not going to be a negative number. So I know a lot of things that the answer isn't without knowing what the answer is. So these sort of things are just silly. And as far as the assertion then therein is also embedded in the question framing itself. Like, you can't plausibly answer that. Well, from your worldview perspective, from your view of Christianity, you don't think that this is true. But of course it is. If I click on this, I'll be able to answer them easily. Can evil and good coexist? Yeah, well, it says in the Bible that God makes evil and good. So yes is the answer. What else? I don't know. Lots of prayer stuff. Again, with this whole, debate at, the communism and atheism thing. All communism is atheistic. What does that even mean? Where are you getting this idea from? And even if it was true, and what does that mean? That doesn't mean that atheism in and of itself is false because political ideology that's bad happens to use it or be it or whatever. It just doesn't matter. Even if you could show association causation, it wouldn't matter. So, I mean, bear another one's burden, so fulfill the law of Christ. What is that? Why? What? Huh? Why? Like, I mean, like, sometimes it's good to help people out, but sometimes it's not good. Sometimes they have to struggle a bit so they can get stronger, So that's like one of these things from the Bible where it's like, it's got some truth to it, but not enough. And yeah, I mean, and here's this guy, he's lifting up the person, right? Well, wouldn't he be just carrying her on his back if he was really lifting the burdens? Because the burden is to get up there. Okay, I'm reading into that. I love this sort of crap. You agree? What? Oh, here's a Twitter prayer. Like, it has a question about prayer that I don't think anyone could answer. If you type a prayer, is that the same as saying it out loud or thinking it in your head? I guess you have thought it in your head in order to type it. But, like, if you type it and then save it to your computer, is it a prayer? Like, have you actually prayed that? Like, does that count? Okay, then unfortunately, a friend of her is depressed. Here's my advice: go get mental help. If you're that person, go get mental help. Like, if you know that person, get them I don't know, get them to get help. That's the answer to depression. Take medicine if the person subscribes it to you. Don't just rely on prayers, because that's not going to change your depression. It's just not. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm just what? Okay. Wait, what? I don't. Okay, so what else? Let's see. Let's see. God is good all the time. Yes. Well, when God allowed the hurricane to kill, what was it? I think, well, I know that last I'd heard it was like at least 8 people died because of the hurricane here in South Carolina. Might be way more in North Carolina. I don't know. I haven't looked since. But yeah, that was a loving God that let that happen. Like, God could have teleported those people to safety, you know, but their free will, something reasons, right? Like, well, but now they're with God. If they believed in the right God, then yeah, they might be, I guess. Or now they die and then like, oh, you didn't believe in me? Oh, now you get tortured forever. Or you did that one thing wrong in your life and so now you get tortured forever. Blah, blah, blah. You know, no, God is not good all the time. But you know, I understand that sentiment. As a former Christian, that'd be something that we would say like as a meme, like, and that's all it was just something we'd say. Let's see, China. What is this? I don't know. So again, with the Marxist atheists, and look, I hate Marxism, and I'm an atheist. I hate communism and Marxism, and I am anti those things, and socialism also to a degree. There's things about it that you have to kind of do, but we got to be careful with it because it's there's problems with it, but I don't like that. Can Christianity survive secularization in the West? No. Well, maybe. It has to change or die. Like all religion, it's going to have to change or die. That's the answer to that. Clues that Jesus is the angel of the Lord in the Old Testament. What? No. No, I'm not going to read that. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Paul persecuted Christians, number 1. And then they were skeptical and doubtful. Then they saw the risen Christ. Then they risked their life. Then they were martyred them. Why? Because they saw Jesus. Oh, that's not circular at all. My God. No, bad. Stop. Okay, you have to assume that these people actually were skeptical and doubtful. Then you have to assume this is true. This is broken logic. Stop it. No. Your question is begging the answer, and it's circular in itself. So, no, this is, stop doing this. This is not good logic. This is, okay. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Christian defense against atheism. Anyway, so 5 questions atheist. Oh, so I'm sorry, I forgot what I was complaining about. So there was a tweet that she did. I mean, you know, that I had responded to. Health correlates to religion. What is this? Whatever this is. I'm gonna click on it. I can't read anymore. Okay, so. Health correlates religiosity and atheism, blah. So anyways, basically, you know, this whole thing is that, you know, if you're religious, you're more you're healthy. And I'm like, you know, I went through it and I looked through all this and I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. I'll just grant all of it because it doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is outlined here in this thing, you know, that I wrote, because I can't write all that in Twitter. And this is actually shared. Anybody with the link can comment on any aspect of this. I guess I should put that in the description too, in case somebody else wants to comment on it or whatever. Because SJ hasn't commented on that yet, probably because she's too busy like challenging atheists on whether or not socialism is Marxist and Marxism is atheism or whatever the Blaper challenge is currently. And, you know, so she's spreading herself a bit thin there with wild claims that she's throwing out there, you know. And by the way, if you're going to make the claim with a superlative like all communist leaders were atheists, the burden is squarely on you, not on anyone to disprove you. And all it takes is one counterexample, and then that argument falls apart. So you better make sure that all communist leaders is a defined thing, like define communist leaders, because, well, what does it take to be a leader of communism? Like, in what dates? You're going to have to narrow that down because you've used the word all, and all is a superlative. Okay, let me go over the 5 questions atheists can't plausibly answer. Then I'll look at chat and I'll turn off my screen sharing. Okay, below presented 5 questions that I do not believe, there we go, appeal to personal incredulity, that atheists will be able to plausibly answer. There you go again with your, whatever the atheist answers is not plausible, therefore I'm right. Like, okay, so there's no reason to answer the question. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Doing this live, and some things are happening in my mouth I can't control consciously. I don't know. Despite the cultural error, sane humans, I love it that it's sane. Okay, so that we can't put out sociopaths as a counterexample. Okay, wise move there. Have the innate sense of what's right and wrong. Well, do we? Where's the study on that? Is at what age? Under what conditions? Like, okay. So yeah. To help fellow humans, no matter the major religion, we're aware of the golden rule. That may or may not be true. A major religion. Okay, so only the major religions count. Why? Why don't the other ones count? What about cults? What about? Okay, no. We prefer the humble over the braggarts, the selfless over the selfish, and truthful over the liars. Well, some of that might be true, but I don't know if that's innate in us. I don't know that it's always true that we prefer a humble person over a bragging person, or the well, probably we would prefer truthful over liar. I mean, it just depends. There's a lot of nuance here, and I don't know when you couldn't be built with this innate in you, because there's complications and such with that. So no to at least this part, but so I would say some humans that are sane might sometimes usually have these things, and then depending on their age they would maybe have these things. But then if you're going to say that any of this is true, like, you would want, like, here's things that show that all of this is true. Okay, so blah blah, I don't care about any of this. So where's the question? Is this the is this the question? Because remember, it's going to be how many? 5, right? So there's a question mark. That's 1, right? So that's 1 question. Somebody keep track for me. I'm going to forget. How do we know what we ought to do? Well, we're taught it. There you go. That's the answer. It's taught and or learned by watching other people behave, and that's how we learn things. So whether that's in a 2-parental unit or some other structure, or it's like the tribe is raising the kids together, or whatever the situation is, people learn by observing and the actions of everyone around them, and that's what they base their morals on. And there's a question that I don't know that's answered of, is it better to have an entire tribe raise kids, like all together as they grow up at once, or is it better to have only a couple people raise the kids, but then of course you still send your kids to school? So which is a better system? I don't know, what way is better and all that. I mean, I don't know, whatever. But how do we know what to do? We learn through observation and of other people around us. That's how we know. Well, but some of it is innate. The things that are innate, built into us by evolution, are there because they give us an evolutionary advantage to have those things built into us. So that's why they're built into us. So that's the answer to that. Okay. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Blah 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 blah. Oh look. Oh, it's another question right here. So that's question number 2, because there's a question mark here. I'm pretty sure I've done this already, but I don't remember anymore. So why do even individuals know we ought to help the weak, feed the poor, on it, blah 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 blah. I already answered the question. We learn from watching other people. So that's the answer. We know that these are values to ascribe to or aspire to. And that's question 2. So here's question 3. How do we know what to do? I already answered the question. Where do we get this moral compass? This is an unanswerable, loaded question. It assumes that there is a where to get it from, but the answer is what I already said. We learn this from observation. So where we get it is from observation. So that's question, I don't know, 4 now, I guess. Or was that the first question? Like, I know, look, you put like 3 question marks in the first question. Stop doing that. It's bad, sloppy writing there. What accounts for the empty tomb? Absolutely nothing, because the empty tomb is not a thing that I believe in. So there you go. It never happened. There was no empty tomb. It's a story that somebody wrote. What accounts for Batman's cave? What accounts for it? How can you possibly explain the existence of Batman unless his parents actually died? If his parents didn't die, then Bruce Wayne wouldn't become Batman. So obviously there must be Batman if Bruce's parents died. So therefore Bruce's parents died, so therefore there's Batman. Wonderfully circular, isn't it? How do you possibly explain Batman's cave? You don't, because it's a story. You have to prove the story is true. And so who cares about any of this? I don't care. It's all circular. You have to assume that the story is true to answer the question, and then you already answered the question because you assumed that the story is true. We call this a loaded question. We also call this circular argumentation. And here's the thing. The whole thing can be summed up by somebody made up a story. That's the answer to all of this. Okay. Almost done. 3, 4, 5. We'll just go through this quick. If the atheist position is the universe's project of chance necessity, instead of the project of intelligence, okay, let me pause there. This is this is the fallacy of excluded middle, which is a formal fallacy. You just broke the laws of logic. Well done. Or it would be the informal fallacy of false dichotomy. So it's either this or it's that. No, what if there's a third option? Well, what would that be? I don't know. We don't even need to posit the third option. We need to merely admit that there might be a third option. So the other part is that this chance of necessity is somehow the correct phrasing of it when it might not be. It might not be pure chance, or it might be a filtering mechanism like we find in biological evolution. So there isn't just pure chance operating in biological evolution, because there's a system that has arisen, and that system places constraints, and those constraints are a filtering mechanism that push the chance down to certain degrees, so that you have a filtering mechanism. Necessity, we don't know if it's necessarily has to be that way, but it is that way. Like, this assumes that it could be some other way. It's like, well, why is oxygen the way it is? It is. There isn't a why necessarily. There's a how or a what, but the why question, you might not even be one we can answer. It's like, why is that rock in the middle of the field? Is it there so the bear can scratch its back? Or is it just there? Maybe it's just there. I don't know. But, we're trying to figure out the why, and maybe there isn't a why. So, anyways, how can we explain the universe is structured rationally, logically, and with mathematical precision and predictability? Well, I don't know that this is a fact, first of all. So, but again, this is assuming that this is my position. So if it's not my position because I didn't agree to the false dichotomy, then I guess I don't answer the question. But my position is not to explain any of how the universe is. Atheists, broadly speaking, don't make those sort of assertions. We might agree with scientists who have found whatever the bleep it is to be true or plausibly true or whatever, but we don't assert that things are true without any evidence to back that up. And if we do, well, then that atheist is, well, they're wrong. You know, I guess I should say skeptics rather than atheists, but even skeptics can fail to hold to these sort of standards. So, you know, I don't know that any of this is true, that the universe is rational or logical or mathematical or predictable. I know that what we've observed might be some of these things, but maybe not all of these things. And to some degree that this is true, but what that degree is, I have no idea. But just because I can't explain it doesn't mean anything. Again, you don't have to know what the answer is to know what the answer isn't. And also, just because I can't explain something doesn't mean that you're right. It doesn't mean anything. Just sometimes we don't know. And if I made a claim in regards to explaining how the universe is whatever, and I supported that claim with evidence, and science says X, and X is how the universe came about, you're just going to put God somewhere before X anyways. So what would be the point of answering any of that question? Because you could always put God in anyways. Pope Benedict, don't care what the Pope said, and you know what? Tell you what, when the Pope in the Catholic Church apologize for what they've been doing and get rid of all the stuff that's been going on and get rid of all those things and also excommunicate Hitler, then you can tell me about the Catholic Church. Until then, I don't care. Larry Morin said, whoever, whatever, blah, 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 if atheists here to believe the purpose of human life is merely procreate and survive, is it what? Okay, so here's this quote that doesn't matter, okay? And the reason why is because you're appealing to authority, which might be the correct authority, but it doesn't matter. I don't care what this person says. You need to present your question without that, because that part's just irrelevant, okay? Well, you don't need to, but you should if you want to be better with logic, which I don't know, maybe you don't care, but so again, you're assuming that we adhere to any belief at all. And then with that in mind, then you're asking about human life and what it's, the purpose of it. And this is assuming that there's a purpose. And all of this is badly worded and assumes many things. So it's completely a loaded question. And then it asks, is it possible to determine that human life has any more value than animal life, since animals share the same basic purpose? Wait a minute. Why are we differentiating between animal life and animal life? Human life we are an animal by definition. So we have the same value if you're trying to ascribe some value. But if you're asking for like a hierarchical structure of what humans would value more, probably other humans, because that's survival of the species. And many other species tend to prefer their own species. Now, you will see animals sometimes save other animals from harm or whatever. And like I've even seen a video where there was like a deer chilling out with a lion. Well, the lion wasn't hungry, so the deer was safe to do that in that moment. But usually, that wouldn't happen. It's very unusual to see that happen, right? So usually it's in the deer's best interest to stay the bleep away from a lion, because you don't know when it's hungry or not. But if it's well fed, then it's fine. Now, if they're raised together, that might change things as well. But it's hard to say. But as far as what I guess you're trying to get at here is the purpose of all life, not just human and other animals, because we are animals. The purpose of all life is to continue to produce itself, whether that's clone itself to make more of itself, or procreate or whatever. life's like whole thing is to keep living and to then make more of it so that there's more, because that's how you stay alive. And so that's the grand objective of life, objectively speaking. As far as purpose, that's kind of like a different word. So there's natural language there, because what do you mean by purpose? Do you mean like what the meaning of life is? Like, you know, why do I do stuff from day to day? Well, there's many answers to that, but there is the objective answer is that my cells have no idea that they're helping me to survive to make this video right now. If they had their way, I might be out trying to procreate. I don't know, but I'm not run purely by my base instincts, because our brains are way more complicated than that. But as far as trying to figure out which life is going to be valued more, well, the species in question will value its species in question more likely than it will other species. But if you had the choice between a pet dog that's your pet and a random stranger, you have to kill one of them. Which one are you going to kill? And you might say, well, you might say the random stranger, because you value your pet's life, because you know who your pet is and you love your dog or your cat or whatever. I'd kill the dog, by the way. I hate dogs, but that's a different story. But you know, it depends. But yeah, as far as what would be more valuable, well, we would value humans because we're humans. So that's the answer. Why have so many atheists determined that life of a fetus? Again, with this thing, she's like obsessed with this. I've seen this like be written other places too. You're obsessed with the whole abortion thing. Determined that life of a fetus, the mother womb, is less valuable than the life of his or her mother. Now, I believe it was a Satanist apologist on Twitter answered the number 5, and he said 1 through 4 are completely irrelevant. And he said, this was the choice between my wife and the unborn child. Damn, that's not a good choice to have to make. He chose, I guess, his wife, which I mean, that's a terrible decision to have to make. It's terrible to have to make that sort of decision. But you're gonna have to choose. Do you save the life of what will be, or what is? You know, and then if you save the life of what will be, and now that life has no mother, at least not a biological mother. So, is that worse? I don't know. What standard do they use to value human life? I suppose it depends on what light, you can't measure one against the other. This is an incoherent question. I don't know how you. I don't know if you couldn't decide. Maybe you would flip a coin and let it be random to some degree, because I wouldn't want to face that choice. But broadly speaking, I would say in regards to abortion, the reason why I would be okay with it is because places that allow for abortion have less overall other social problems. So if you don't like abortion, you should encourage teaching of sexual education in schools, because that's shown as strong correlation to less teen births and births in general. You should encourage the use of contraceptives and hand them out, maybe even at your church for free. You should make people aware of STDs, and maybe even provide them safe places to engage in sexual activities if after learning about what the possible risk is involved. So, and you could also work on developing science that would maybe be some way that we could give our kids like a contraceptive that's safe, that's 100% effective, that then we can negate later when they're ready. Or maybe we could build it into our genome that we have an on-off switch that we can turn on when we want to have kids and turn off when we just want to go at it. That would be a thing. We could invent a way to transfer the unborn child from one womb to an artificial womb safely, and then we wouldn't have to do abortion anymore, because that particular life could be not the mother's responsibility to carry and bear. It could be the responsibility of the the whoever runs the machinery or government or whatever agency is in charge of doing that procedure or something. And they could maybe sign a contract that gives away their child or whatever, because they don't want responsibility for it, or they can't. It's not that they don't want responsibility for it. Maybe they can't afford it or whatever reason. Okay. So that's all of that. Let's stop sharing the screen. Let's see what happened in chat. No, then I'll see that. And if anything, there's a thing, then I'll respond to the things and then the things. Morning, Johnny Drive-By. Haven't you got Twitter? Join us. She's a delusional and indoctrinated thesis. That might be true, but she still might have a valid and sound argument. So let's try to not. I know it's very tempting to throw insults at people, but those insults are not relevant. So let's try not to do that. Funny, it's Johnny. Funny that Jesus and his disciples practiced a simple form of communism by giving up their worldly possessions for the benefit of the community. Yeah, right. Yeah, that is kind of funny. Yeah, that was very much kind of a, leave all your stuff behind and walk around and follow me a while. And we'll just go around and we'll live off the charity of others. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be kind of weird if that was happening in, like, imagine in a small town if 12 guys were walking around, saying be good to your neighbor and like, hey, by the way, we don't have jobs. Can you feed us? Like, I guess you might feed them, but it just would be weird. Like, be like, put on some shoes, you hippies. Sherlock Michelle wrote The Atheist Atrocities Fallacy, a blog to refute this theist slander. Like to check that out. Johnny saw that. Let's see. Can you ever like dog? Gary says, no, I can't. I'm sorry. Well, maybe I could, but I just don't want to. So I have a phobia of dogs, and I'm pretty happy having that phobia. Like, I could get it treated, but I don't want to because I'd rather hate them. Lucifer Almighty. SJ is a horrible. Okay, let's not do the insult. She said God gave Christopher his cancer to stop him from talking people away from God. Wow, did she? That's pretty messed up. I don't know how she knew that. And it's also interesting that negates Christopher Hitchens' free will. So it's so convenient that God can take away free will when a Christian feels like that free will is inconvenient for them. Like, oh, that just not make Christopher Hitchens exist at all. He already led a whole bunch of people away from God. So what was the purpose of his existence in the first place? If you were just going to, in the end, negate his free will by killing him, why not just make it so that he never existed at all? Oh, right. So the free will thing is not an argument. Okay. What do they mean, pray hard? Well, Gary, I don't know. When I was a Christian, it's like when you pray, like, say over a meal, it's pretty quick. It's kind of just more of a ritual than anything else, And when you go to church, there's like kind of a level of prayer that you're doing there that's very different than that prayer at the meal. Like your concentration on what you're thinking in your head or saying out loud is greater than it would be for the normal ritual that you perform hypothetically daily over your meal. So you're concentrating more. So you're praying harder. You're thinking more about the things you're saying. So that might be what they're talking about when they say pray hard. Condescending smile. Yeah, I'm gonna leave the insults out of it. I know it's very tempting to do, but yeah. Richard Carrier made her look like Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen her debate with Richard. I was amazed she was able to debate Richard. Oh my word. How did that happen? Did he like lose his cool so much to come to her level, or did she like get enough attention to get to his level? I don't know. But I've never talked to Richard Carrier. Do I have to become a theist again to be able to talk to him? Somebody tell me how to do this. I don't know. Anyone on Twitter here? Yeah, I'm on Twitter. Deconverted Man is, I think, my thing. I don't remember. I could be sharing. Why am I not sharing the chat? I should be sharing that, even though that's something that people can see later after the thing is the thing. Okay, so I never used Twitter, never will. Okay. Main gun. Howdy, folks. Hi. Yeah. More Christian apologetics today. Yeah, I can't get enough. Well, it's Sunday. Yeah, right. Yes, main gun. I really wish apologists would read a book on logic before making such garbage arguments. Can I get an amen for that? Yes. Well, of course, if they did that, they might become a skeptic like Deconverted Man did, because that's exactly what ruined me. So I knew all the apologetic arguments. I was like, oh, William Lane Craig is so awesome. And, I'd be like, oh, yeah, the Kalam. And I'd be able to spew it out at a moment's notice, I probably still can, whatever begins to exist needs a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe had a cause. There you go, I did it. And that cause cannot be the universe because blah 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 blah, and therefore God. I used to know the rest of it, but I stopped caring, so I don't know it anymore. But yeah, and then I learned informal logic, and I'm like, oh, these arguments are crap. I can't be a theist anymore because of that, and plus the other reasons that I already had. So if you did know logic and did care about its application, you couldn't make these arguments. You'd have to make different arguments. Soon? Oh, very soon. What? How? Now? Oh, all right. Well, let's see if there's anything before I have to go. Okay, I have to go apparently and do things that are real. Real being real. This is real life, but it's a different. I have to go through the thing. So gave a thing. Let's see, and okay. So thanks everybody for checking out whatever this was. I guess. We'll look more at SJ Thomason later and see if she ever decides to respond to the thing that I wrote. And I'll go ahead and leave that in the chat here and put it at the thing. And the thing anybody can be the thing. And so that's yeah. Let's do. Oh, I didn't share the screen. I thought I was wrong. So well, thanks everybody. Oh yeah, frustrated atheist. If you need a moderator, I'll do it. Or I'll just analyze the thing, or I'll help you write your side if you needed help. Not that I think that you actually do, but whatever. Let me look at it and at least. I don't know, but yeah, that would be fun to be part of in some way, shape, or form if you want me there. Okay, goodbye, everybody. Lobsters exist. I'll put all the links in the thing in the description box of words. Finn, goodbye. Okay, click the button.